بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعاديات ضبحا فالموريات قدحا فالمغيرات صبحا فأثرن به نقعا فوسطن به جمعا إن الإنسان لربه لكنود وإنه على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور وحصل ما في الصدور إن ربهم بهم يومئذ لخبير.
Allahu Akbar. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's happening? Let me get a mic check. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm coming in the Sultan gear today. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know. What up, Ike? What's happening? Happy Friday to everybody. Shalom Shabbat, Juma Mubarak. But let me know if y'all can hear me so we can get this party started, man. Let me get a mic check. Tracy, what's happening? Thank you. I appreciate it. So we good money? We good? All right, man. Listen, man, everybody, if you can, do me a favor, please click the like button, thumbs up button, so we can just get the algorithm going. My favorite, thank you, Sean. My favorite Friday conversation, man, by far. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Prince. I appreciate it. Janine, what's up? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in on Fridays, man. Fridays, the Friday khutbah, by far the best khutbah that you're gonna get. Khutbah means a lecture. So every Friday in the Islamic tradition, there's a lecture. I think it should be every day, for real. But you know, they do a Friday lecture. Kind of corresponds with the high noon prayer when the sun reaches its highest point, known as the meridian, which is the due southern portion of the sky. That's when the sun appears and our reality be at its highest point. There's a conversation to be had about God. That's beautiful because really, you know, you in rhythm. You know what I mean? So you're just like, wow, you're gonna have a conversation about God, the Most High, the El Elyon, as they say, the Most High, when the sun is at its highest peak. That's beautiful. Which two of the five prayers, which really all five prayers, but two of the five prayers are correspondent to the sun's position. Okay, so the other three of the prayers happen to align, one with the direction of Sirius, and then the others to galaxies. Okay, but the whole prayer is really a galactic prayer. The time of the prayers is really lined up with galaxies. 4 galaxies and 1 star. The star is Al-Tariq, also known as just Sirius. You know what I'm saying? The brightest star in all of the heavens, the ancestral gateway for the African. Okay. I actually got the wrong picture here because I updated and put Africa on this particular picture, but it's all good. All right, Sharita, get the money bag. What up? What's happening? What's going on? My business moderator in the Patreon, who be giving, if you don't, I don't want to say take advantage, but for simple terms, if you don't take advantage of that game, you're playing yourself. Anybody that got business aspirations, business startup ideas, using Chat GPT to help you enhance your business, even taking the science of the moon and where it flows at on a daily, but within the month, when would be the best time for you to do this, to do that, to do this, and to do that. That's Sharita. All right. So you want to really take advantage of that, man, because that's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Okay. So today's conversation is don't let the devil trick us. All right. sometimes I be trying to figure out where I'm gonna start at in a sense, but I always be like, man, bump that, man. You just gonna flow from the heart. And that's what I always end up doing far as the introduction goes. But this conversation is inspired from a dear friend of mine, who is a Catholic now. And we was having a conversation along the lines of Charlie Kirk, who's publicly assassinated. And they had mentioned to me, I wanted to get names and numbers. So I'm like, yo, I'm hearing this racial tensions out here. I don't watch a lot of TV, as far as what's going on in mainstream stuff. So my news source is usually 9 times out of 10, no exaggeration, it's Minister Jew. So he'll come and give me what's going on in society, especially on Twitter or X, where people get this, man, people telling Kamala Harris, shut up, nigger, all kind of stuff. It's time to hang you niggers from trees. It's getting nasty over there on Twitter. Twitter lets you get it off. I've seen porn on Twitter before, but nobody flagging it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I wasn't looking for it. I was told. All right. And I saw it. So, I'm like, oh yeah, it's getting like that. He like, yeah, bro, it's almost time. Time meaning, I'm not afraid. Me and my sahabas, you know what I mean? My sahabs, at East 40 would say, companions. We'd go up to the mountaintop and we would petition the Most High for some type of retribution, and or what we would call intercession as well. And there's things that I cannot speak on that has happened in this reality that have made the news, which is absolutely a direct reflection of things that we have prayed about on the mountaintop. Okay. See, I take divinity very serious, that I will go to the mountaintop if you're giving me the game. And don't let me find no science, because I'm always find science. Once I find science behind something, whether the mountain be like Stone Mountain, whether it be a quartz or granite, or which conducts electricity, which the human being is made up of electricity, which God is the light, Noor, right? Chapter 24 in the Quran. I'm gonna go. You know what I mean? Because I'm just a diehard believer like that. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, I want names, man. Who is what? What's doing? Who? From your viewpoint, what's up now? They all the way down in the South. They in the old Confederate territory of Georgia, and Georgia is an interesting state because Georgia was state number 3 that decided to attempt to lead the United States of America and join the Confederacy, where they're going to form their own nation state called the Confederate States of America, where slavery will be legal. Mississippi was number 1. Was it Florida? May be number 3. My order is off. I used to know them things. I used to know the top 5 by heart, and I can get the top 5. I just don't know which one was ordered. But Mississippi, South Carolina, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. Okay, that's how that go. So the big 5. All right, the big 5 was like, yeah, we up out of here. So I was just really checking on it, at the same time checking on their well-being as well, because you in Confederate territory. And then they had mentioned to me that it's Marxism is crept into the United States, eating away at the values and ideals of America that wants to divide and conquer us and stuff, along with Islam. And I said, okay, what aspect of Islam? Give me an example of Islam that is bad for American society. Now, we're not going to agree with everybody, right? Charlie Kirk made some great points on things, but I absolutely disagree with Charlie Kirk on some things. We said, I don't want to live in a country where Muslims are praying 5 times a day. What the fuck is wrong with you, Charlie? Rest in peace. Fuck is wrong with that, though? You know what I'm saying? You're going to take the time out to pray. That's beautiful. 5 times a day. It's more than what the average Christian is doing, right? For sure. You know what I mean? That's the beautiful thing and whatnot. So they really didn't give me no definitive example whatsoever, but sent me a video. So I start watching the video, and this video was talking about what we would call extremism. You know what I'm saying? I ain't into the extremism. You know what I'm saying? That don't speak for everybody. That's like saying, all white people are evil and the devil simply because they are European. Last I checked, there are hundreds of thousands of dead people, thousands easy, in graveyards from the Civil War who were white, who were from the North, who absolutely had our best interests at heart and died for black folks to get out of slavery. That's just a fact. So I cannot sit up here and say all white people are evil, right? So I don't care about the extremism of the Confederacy per se, because I understood that they had a counterpart, a white brother, who slapped and mollywopped the shit out of them. And so when you look at the seal for Atlanta, Georgia, okay, they have a phoenix bird coming out of this, out of some fire. In the Latin term resurgence, which means to be born again or to rise again. Why do it need to rise again? And why the fire? Because my war general, William T. Sherman, and that's my war general, William T. Sherman from Lancaster, Ohio, the famous author of 40 Acres. It wasn't a mule, but 40 Acres and a Mule is technically known as Special Field Order Number 15, was a military measure, which he said, yeah, hey, y'all former slaves, it's a civil war we fighting right now, but the slave masters that left and this plantation that you own, y'all get 40-acre parcels. All right, that's how that go. It wasn't a law, it was a military measure. At the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, then you had his vice president, who was a Democrat and was a slave master from Tennessee. He rescinded Special Field Order Number 15. Okay, that's history. Those are facts. Okay, now if you want to say, well, why would Abraham Lincoln have a slave master on a ticket? Because you have to infiltrate the system. Abraham Lincoln is following his predecessors, some of his predecessors who also had slaves, but they were against slavery because they inherited slaves, meaning their parents died and left them slaves, but it is not the moral compass and view in which they have. So then they started writing laws to go against slavery while owning slaves. You have to be able to get out of your emotion and be able to deal with logical facts and then strategy. Okay. All right. So to further get the Democratic vote, to get the Southern vote, you will put this guy, Andrew Johnson, on the ticket. So therefore, you don't look like you're just anti-slavery all the way, and you can gather some of those votes. How do we know this to be an art of war strategy? Well, you can go back to the 1858 Lincoln-Douglas debates. I'm giving you this game. 1858 Lincoln-Douglas debate, where his opponent, Stephen Douglas, is pointing out that Abraham Lincoln, when he comes into Little Egypt, now known as Southern Illinois, Abraham Lincoln talks a different game. He talks about how whites are superior than whites, whites are superior than blacks, rather, and how he is switching the tune, because when he's in the northern part of the state, he says the Declaration of Independence is for black people. This is Stephen Douglas said, I'm hip to your shit, Abe. You think you slick. You trying to get what he called the Virginians, the Kentuckians, and the Tennesseans. He's trying to get y'all vote by talking this white man superior to black man shit. But when we up here debating, this nigga got a whole different tune. This is strategy. Okay. All right. So anyway, bring it back down. So I want names and numbers. I don't care about numbers, but I want names. Because I actually want birthdays, but I want names. And we went ahead and we got off the text. And well, in the conversation, I was saying too, like, wait, hold on. Because they now that they on this side, the Catholic side, I would say, there's a frowning upon Islam to a degree. That's what I feel like. It's my opinion. This was a frowning. And I'm like, what are we going to use as what can, and especially Black America, what can we use as the foundation? That's the key. What can we stand upon as the foundation so we don't get tricked? That's the whole key to this whole thing. Y'all ready? All right. So everybody do me a favor. Please click the thumbs up button. All right. So let's get this party started. When you do an overhead view of Jerusalem, okay, please note that to the far left, you will see the Holy Church where they say the remains of Jesus Christ is at. Then you will see the Western Wall, which Christians, Muslims, and Jews, but you see a lot of Jewish people praying against the Western Wall. And that wall on the other side is Al-Aqsa, also the Dome of the Rock. And the Muslims came, and when the Muslims took Jerusalem, which Jerusalem was given to them, there wasn't no conflict to get Jerusalem. All right. The Muslims built upon the holy site in which the Jews say this is the site. This is known as the Temple Mount. This is the site of King Solomon's temple. So when the Muslims came into Jerusalem, they went ahead and started really to rebuild the temple. So they created a masjid, Masjid al-Masqa, and then Aqsa rather, and then later what came was the Dome of the Rock. Okay. So all three religions are concentrated in this particular area. Okay. All right. On this holy site. Now, here is a timeline of different rulers. I just got to highlight it because it's just broken up into 4 different kind of like empires in a sense. Okay. So from pre-Bible all the way to Kingdom of Judah, you see Babylonian, Nebuchadnezzar II destroys the first temple. Then the Persian comes behind him and allows the Jews to rebuild the temple. Then you had Alexander the Great, which by the way was crowned in Egypt. When he got to Egypt, the Egyptians didn't like the Persians. Persians is the one who conquered Egypt first. Okay. And so then when Alexander the Great, the Greeks came in, they was like, oh, these Persians got to go. We with you, man. All right. And Alexander the Great actually respected Egypt because when you come from the Greek society, you dealing with Zeus, you're dealing with Apollo, you're dealing with celestial, you're dealing with a cosmic theology. All right. So you see the various different empires, man. The goal here is just to show you the various different empires. The second one in yellow, which you deal with the Rashidun Caliphate, you start to deal with the Muslims coming into power. So in yellow, this is when Islam gets a hold of Jerusalem. Okay. And then the British Empire got it in 1917 to 1948. Now we're about to get the creation of Israel. All right. Israel then was divided between the West and the East. Israel had control of the West while Jordan had control of the East. And then now you have a unified Israeli rule from 1967 all the way till now. So it's a very, very turbulent location. Okay. All right. So just wanted to show you the quick little history of that. All right. Now, in world history, too, this is what it would look like. The Byzantine Empire is an empire that is more that would later become a Christian empire. All right. The Persians are at the Sassanid Empire. They don't have Islam. They have sky deities as well. Anytime you get outside of the Abrahamic religion, you're going to deal with indigenous cultures that understand cosmic forces, and that's how God communicate. All right. And then the Rashidun Caliph is Caliphate. Rather, you're going to have the Muslims right here. Okay. And notice how Egypt was under the Byzantine rule until later the Islamic culture came and took over Egypt. Now, here is a book that you absolutely need to have for those of you that are into Afro studies. Okay. The African Origin of Civilization by Sheikh Anta Diop, Senegalese brother, dropping science, dropping facts. Okay. Now, you will see on the right that Africa has the oldest language known as the Afro-Asiatic language, and it goes back 18,000 BC to 8,000 BC. Okay, that's heavy. So what I'm saying is the foundation, if you African American, has to be on the continent. It's just my opinion, right? That's your inheritance. That's your DNA. So I think that's a great foundation. So then when you start to see brothers from the red, black, and green community that's, what we call Pan-African, and you see them flat out say, man, fuck them Abrahamic religion. Like my man said, fuck Abraham. Cracker, you know, he be on, nigga, this Africa. You can't knock that because there's so much confusion, as we just saw 22 different rulers, you know, empires ruling Jerusalem. It's too much confusion inside of Judaism, inside of Islam, inside of Christianity. When you go back to the mother and father of civilization, which the Europeans agree that this is the oldest language on the earth, okay, then you are going back to the root. Facts. You're just going back to the root, okay? Now we have to understand, well, what did our ancestors do far as dealing with these three Abrahamic religions, okay? All right. So, one, the Jews are still waiting for a Messiah, okay? He's a future human king and redeemer who will usher in the age of universal peace, justice, and prosperity. But the concept of the Messiah's arrival is significant, and its significance varies among different individuals and Jewish movements. The ongoing waiting for the Messiah is seen as a continuous expression of Jewish faith and a commitment to a perfected world. So the Jews are looking for a Messiah in the end game. Now, watch this. As the Christians are taught to actively wait for and watch for the return of Jesus, the second coming, we know that the Christians are waiting for a second coming of Christ. Okay? The Muslims are waiting for a messianic figure, specifically for the return of Jesus. So they're more aligned with the Christians to be a just ruler and defeat the false Messiah. Now, watch this. Muslims also await the Mahdi, a righteous leader who will unite the community and establish justice on earth before Jesus' return. But unlike the Christians, Muslims do not believe Jesus was divine, but rather a powerful prophet and a true Messiah who did not die on the cross, but was raised to heaven. Okay? Now, the Jews believe Jesus did not fulfill the messianic prophecies that established the criteria for the coming Messiah. Judaism does not accept Jesus as a divine being, an intermediary between humans and God, and Messiah or holy. But the Muslims believe Jesus is the Messiah, called Isa in Arabic, and refers to him as the Messiah in the Quran. However, the Islamic belief in the Messiah differs from the Christian one. For Muslims, Jesus was a great prophet, not divine, is expected to return to earth before the day of judgment to defeat the Antichrist. Okay? So what we just saw was, well, hold on. The Jews are waiting for a Messiah, but they don't believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ. He didn't even fit the messianic role, so they ain't even rocking with Jesus whatsoever. The Muslims say, no. Jesus is absolutely a Messiah, and we believe he's coming back, but he just wasn't the Son of God. So in this case, the Christian and the Muslim are in more alignment in belief than the Jew. Bookmark that, note that. Okay? So now let's come home. You have what's known as a Yahweh inscription, the temple column at Soleb at Amenhotep III. This is 1396 to 1358 BC. The name Yahweh appears in Egypt before Christianity, 1,000 years. Okay? 1,300 years. Okay? So Yahweh is with Amenhotep. I also know in history that there is something called the Yahweh Temple built on Elephantine Island. This is 536 to 410 BC. And it literally sits in the middle of the Nile River on a little island. And look to the right, which is not too far from the Isis temple. Yes. So here we have Jewish, Hebrew, Jewish Hebrew, however we want to put it, culture inside of Egypt. One way before with Amenhotep, 13, almost 1400 years BC. And then as of more recently in that timeline, we have the temple of Yahweh in Elephantine Island in the Nile River. Okay. On the island in the Nile. Okay. All right. Now, it is unknown if Jews were in Ethiopia specifically in 587 BCE, but some traditions link the origin of Beta Israel, which is a Black Jewish community in Ethiopia, to this time. While their exact beginnings are unclear, one prominent theory suggests the Jews migrated to Ethiopia following the destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem by the Babylonians around 587 BCE. On the left, Dr. Ben, rest in peace, scholar. We talking about this ain't no internet scholarship. Wrote a book called We the Black Jews. So Judaism is in Egypt. Now it's in Ethiopia, which is Kush, right? Which is, we say, the mother of Egypt. Yes. The Nubians, right? So Dr. Ben comes and he proves this work that the Black folks in Africa, Ethiopia, are actually Jews. This is way before Europeans became Jews. Way before. Okay? So this is documented. Just giving you some sources here. All right? So now let's kind of look at some churches for a quick second. All right? And I can't see that because my prompts is up. So you got Dura Europos, which is located in Syria. Syria is only 10% Christian. You got Aqaba Church located in Jordan. That's 97% Muslim country. Okay? My point is showing you that the earliest churches, the first churches, were not in Europe. They weren't. They were not. The first churches were not in Europe. So it's almost a gross mistake to say Christianity is European in its origin. Let's deal with King Exana from Ethiopia, from the Aksum Empire. He became one of the first nations to become a Christian state in 330 AD, one of the oldest surviving Christian nations in the world. Okay? Now, the legend is he would accept Christianity because of the trade routes. And it was more of a political economic thing that made sense. Okay. Look into that. But Christianity is in Ethiopia. Did you notice the year? Let's come back to that. 330. Well, that's interesting because something's going to happen at that time dealing with Christianity. And this is what the kingdom of Aksum looks like, which is Nubia. Yes, the Ethiopians, and that's Nubia. Okay, and notice that it goes over into Yemen, which is just below Mecca, which was going to later become the birthplace of Islam. You start to see it come together yet? So, but according to the Coptic Christian tradition and historical accounts, Christianity was brought to Egypt by Saint Mark the Evangelist. This is 42 to 60 AD. Now, watch the first Christian community in Europe, which is modern day Greece, is 50 to 51 AD. So Christianity is in Egypt before it is in Europe. We know it's in Ethiopia before it's in Europe. We know the first churches are not even in Europe. And now we see Christianity in Egypt slightly before the first Christian community comes together in modern day Greece. Wow. So Judaism, Christianity is coming into the cradle of black folks. We accepted these things if it was coming from a foreigner. Okay? Now, the Council of Nice. Remember King Azana? He takes on Christianity 5 years later as a nation state. So in the Council of Nice, known as the Nicene Creed of 325 AD, the church has a meeting. And the meeting says this council was convened by the Emperor Constantine to address the Arian controversy, which centered on the nature of Jesus Christ. The council produced the original Nicene Creed, which declared that the Son is of one being, with the Father affirming his full divinity. This was a crucial step in defining the relationship between the Father and the Son, a central component of the Trinitarian doctrine. Number two, the First Council of Constantinople. While Nicaea had clarified the divinity of the Son, the nature of the Holy Spirit was still a subject of debate. This council revised and expanded the Nicene Creed, adding language that affirmed to the full divinity of the Holy Spirit, describing him as the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father. Question. This means that the story of Jesus Christ is not necessarily a story of history, meaning an actual event. If it's an actual event that took place, why do the church need to have a conversation about the divinity of the Trinity? Why do you need to have a meeting about it? To define what it is, if it is what it is. It must not be what it is. Yes? Let's keep going. So that's interesting, because when you get into the Bible, you will start to see some genealogy. Jesus, so the people thought, was the son of Joseph. Now watch that word, thought, as if, okay, they thought that because he really from God. This is how they get you. All right. And so then they start running down the father. This was the son of this, 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 was the son of this. Okay. And this whole thing is about the genealogy. Okay. All right. Coming through the father. All right. Now, since they said thought, and we can read this, anytime you want to break down the Bible, you need to go to a interlinear Bible. It's online. So let's say if we wanted to go to Luke 3. All right, Luke 3 interlinear Bible, type that in, and then that'll pop up, and then you do this, because this is going to allow you to click on the definition of the word being used and then go to the root word of that so you can better understand the meaning. All right, start at the top. And himself was Jesus, beginning about the years old 30, being son, as was supposed, of Joseph. Was supposed. The other translation said thought. What is was supposed? Let's make sure that we on the same line. It says 35:43. When we go to 35:43, it says suppose, thing, right? Be want. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the left. To do by law. To do by law. The origin of the word comes from entry 3551. So let's go to 3551. Nomos. Ooh, that's a Dogon word. Nomos. In the Greek, they say it means what? Law. Through the idea. So it is law. So Jesus coming from the Father is coming from Joseph. This genealogy of human beings. Listen, if Jesus is directly from God, why are you giving us the genealogy of his father, who you going to tell us is Joseph, who's married to Mary? Joseph would be totally irrelevant in the story because Joseph ain't bust no nut in Mary. Let's just keep it real. From the story that you're saying, Joseph did not bust a nut in Mary. So why do we need to get the genealogy of the father, aka Joseph, going through these particular things? I let my brother Minister Jew deal on this because Joseph is known as what? The vision, the dream. It's a state of vision. Okay. All right. Now, let's go into a little history. With a fella named Tertullian, a Roman lawyer and theologian, study the God word, is often credited with being the first to use the Latin term Trinitas. He used this term to describe the unity of God in three persons. Y'all see this? This is before the church adopted it. He provided an analogy saying that the three persons are one substance, but three distinct persons. He wrote extensively on this in his work Against Praxeas, where he argued against a form of monarchianism that collapsed the three persons into one. He's the father of the Trinitarian doctrine. Before the church had a meeting to say, yes, let's say with this is what Christ is. Okay. So it's interesting to see that there's a book called The World's 16 Crucified Saviors. And the Quran says, the Quran explicitly rejects the idea of Jesus' crucifixion, stating, and because of their saying, we killed Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, but they killed him not, nor crucified him, but it appeared so to them. So the Quran has a different version of what happened to Jesus. Still believe in him as a Messiah, still believe that he's coming back, but he ain't no son of God. Not the way they tell the story. But let's get into the world's 16 crucified saviors. The world's 16 crucified saviors, or Christianity before Christ, is a controversial and influential book in America by American freethinker Percy Graves, published in 1875. The book is a work of comparative mythology and religion. Graves' central argument is that the story of Jesus Christ is not unique, but rather a mythic archetype with roots in pre-Christian mythologies from around the world. He claims to have found parallels between Jesus and 16 other saviors or deities, asserting that their story shares similar elements such as virgin births and miraculous conceptions, being born on December 25th, being visited by shepherds, magi, or the wise men at birth, which magi means oriental astrologer in Greek. Go put that in the interlinear Bible and see it for yourself. Performing miracles, being crucified and resurrected. Grave list of saviors include figures like Krishna from India, Christ, Krishna of India, Osiris from Egypt, Mithra of Persian, and Bacchus of Greece. Yes? So his research says, hey, before this Jesus story that y'all came with, this exact same story already exists in at least 16 other cultures. Same birthday, same conception, same everything. You see? So now when you compare this with the meeting, was it an actual event? Yeah, it don't look like it's an actual event. We need to understand what it's talking about. And I'm not bashing anything, because once you understand it, you got it. It's a science to it. So let's come to the Quran in this revelation in the year 16. All right. Because remember, the Quran is not revealed as a book. It's from mouth to ear. All right. In 622, the prophet migrated to Medina. He started getting his revelation in the year 610. He's in a cave meditating. He's 40 years old. All of a sudden, somebody appears, right? And see, that story, along with the actual facts of the Quran, meaning the scientific facts of what's being gathered today that's already in the Quran, is what makes me say, nah, for the first time, we really had interdimensional intercessory. Like if the divine world exists and finally came through to talk to humans, what I see was being proven nowadays or validated nowadays in the Quran, I don't have no shadow of a doubt about it. So anyway, the prophet receives revelation in 610 in Mecca. But the Meccans is like, hey, nigga, get up out of here with that shit. We ain't trying to hear that shit. We about to kill you. It's a fact. So the prophet said, listen, man, I got to get up out of here. I got to go to Medina. But guess what? And they call this the Hijra, the migration. But this is not really the first migration, because this is where Islam starts to create its calendar from. So when you see an Islamic calendar, AH, after Hijra, they start when the prophet made his migration to Medina. Okay. All right. Well, about 10 years prior, ladies and gentlemen, the prophet had gave instructions to his community, his companions, go over to Ethiopia because there's a Christian king there that has a tolerance. I say it one more time, a tolerance for different religious ideals. This is a famous picture of this where two people from Mecca are in the picture, the only white boys, and they want to come to the king and say, turn them Muslim niggas over because we want to kill them. And the king is like, no, I will not. Now, what I find interesting about this picture, and again, it's just artwork. It don't mean that it's necessarily historical fact, but this picture comes from the year 1300s. But I found it funny how they depicted, well, where's the other Muslims that they're coming to get? They have to be black. Everybody with a shirt off look like what? A servant to the king. The two Muslims who we see with bowing down, asking the king for something, got the turbans on their head. Well, the other people who got turbans on their head are dark-skinned people. Yes. But it's not a secret that the Arabians are dark-skinned people, especially the Quraysh tribe. They look black. Okay. So this is 612, 613. The Muslims are now in Ethiopia. So we saw Judaism in Ethiopia. We saw Christianity in Ethiopia. And now we have Islam in Ethiopia. The story here is they recited Surah 19, which is Mary. And when the Christian king heard this chapter, heard this surah, he was like, oh no, this is from God. These people good over here. No, I ain't turning these people over. This is how OG we are as Africans. This how OG we are. Christianity, Judaism, temple of Yahweh next to us. Come on through, man. Come on through. We already know that. We know this already. Right? Who must sitting up here beefing like that? All right. All right. Now, here comes my favorite part of history. It's my favorite epoch of time right here. We have to understand this part of history. The Caliphate of Cordoba, known as Moorish Spain, which almost had this region for 800 years, 711 to 1492. You got to understand this is almost an 800-year run that you run in this place. This is known as the Islamic Golden Age. They started in the 600s, ends in the 1300s. Okay. You talking about this my era right here. I was here. This is my era right here. This is my favorite era. Because see, in Egypt, which is the foundation, Africa's the foundation, it's kind of one-dimensional because it's just African. Here, you get, all right, let me see what the metaphysical boy is talking about from Greece. Let me see what big Aristotle talking about. Let me see what Plato talking about. All right, let me see what the Persians is talking about. All right, this is what we talking about. All right, let's all make all of it make sense. It was just highly sophisticated, intellectual. You talking about public bathhouses. You talking about literary salons. You talking about women who got hair salons, but they drinking tea and they got books on God and they talking about the universe and the divinity of life. What? Oh man, this era was popping. All right. So we got this. This age is a very interesting age because within the Islamic golden age, yes, the golden age, we have the Jewish golden age of Spain from the 8th to 12th century. Let me back it up. The Islamic golden age is from 6 to 13. The Jewish golden age is from 8 to 12. The 8 to 12 falls in the range of 6 to 13. So the Jews are going to come into a golden age under the Moors. This is a fact. Okay? All right, let's keep on going. So what is the status of Christians in Andalus, which is more Spain? They had a dhimmi status. Christians, like Jews, were considered dhimmis, right? Which afforded them in a protected status as people of the book. However, this status came with limitations and obligations, including a special religious tax. Coexistence for significant periods, particularly during the height of the Caliphate of Cordoba. Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together in a state of relative harmony and cooperation. Restrictions: Christian communities were subject to religious taxes and had some restrictions on their worship, trade, interactions with broader society. So in the golden age, if you had a different religion, see this whole thing gets out of pocket the moment that we started playing for political authority, because now we got to go to war, and that's where we went out of pocket as far as humanity goes, right? But once established under Islam here, one aspect of Islam, because I'm going to bring the contrast, going to get a whole picture today. The Christians and the Jews are good money, but y'all going to pay a special tax. Can y'all practice this in the public? Nah, we don't want you to practice that in the public because this is a Muslim society, but go ahead and, practice. Okay. All right. What I find interesting here, though, is, and I'm going to get to it, but the Christians don't consider this a golden age for them simply because they were not in political power. But society was absolutely a golden age. Okay. All right. Let me come out of this for a second. I wanted that bit. Let me get this one. There we go. All right. So moving on. Now, there wasn't a single Christian Renaissance, because I type in, well, when was the Christian Renaissance? 12th century Renaissance marked by scholasticism and broader Renaissance of the 14th or 17th centuries. Oh, so the 12th century, notice that's when Islam starts to fall. That's when the end of their golden age. And then the Jewish golden age comes to an end. Remember, they was from 8 to 12, right? And now all of a sudden the Christians are saying, yeah, we're having a Renaissance. We're coming back. So my point is, this is ego. Were you not in a golden age? You just because you wasn't in political power doesn't mean you wasn't in the golden age. My point of showing you this is that's their psychology. Since they wasn't in political power, they call that the dark ages for them. It's the dark ages for you, but it's the golden age at the same time, right? In the same place. Make it make sense. But now it's a Renaissance all of a sudden and shit is popping. Why is it popping? Because you gain back political control. Okay. Had nothing to do with the intellectual aspect of things. So here is the Grand Mosque in Cordoba. All right. Beautiful structure. This is what the inside look like. All right. Here is the Alhambra. It's probably my number one place to go when I start getting up out of here. Is going there. The Alhambra, known as the Red Castle of Granada, Spain. This is the last castle or the last area that the Moors controlled, and then we ceded Spain over from this place right here. Keep this in mind because the Catholics gonna come back on you for this. This is the first university and still operating today, the oldest university, Karawin, in Fez, Morocco, right now. And it was founded by a woman. It was founded by the beautiful, divine feminine. Look it up. Oldest university still running to this day, and first and oldest. This ain't the oldest because it's the longest lasting. It's the first and still going. So that's paramount. Okay. All right. So now let's look into Mansa Musa. Right. They said Mansa Musa's wealth is 400 to 500 billion. He richer than Elon Musk. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie, they can't even touch Mansa Musa. This is a black man from West Africa. Yes. Now dig this. Mansa Musa, from the 14th century ruler of the Mali Empire, completed a legendary Hajj. He went to Mecca, y'all, in 1324 and 25, characterized by his immense display of wealth. He was balling, with vast quantities of gold distributed to the poor and to the rulers he encountered. His extravagant spending, particularly in Cairo, which was founded by the Muslims of the Fatimid dynasty, I showed y'all that before, significantly impacted the economy by causing gold's value to fall for over a decade. Yes, the Hajj not only demonstrated his devout faith, but he also elevated the Mali Empire global prestige, fostering interest in West African culture and trade, and making Timbuktu a renowned center for learning and Islamic scholarship. He has so much bread he calls inflation. Prices had to go up for over a decade. That's how much money he came through spending. You want to talk about coming through and blowing the bag, blowing them wads at Magic City? What? Mansa Musa was getting it in. Point being, Mansa Musa was Muslim, but he had West African traditions. You see that? That's how OG we are. All right. It's one of the mosques that's built in his time. All right. So now let's come to this group of people, the Almohads versus the Almoravids. These are said to be black Muslims, tribes. They're going to fight for Muslim Spain. The Almoravids are in control, and the Almohads are going to come and contest that and then defeat the Almoravids, and the Almohads is going to take control. But let's look at their relationship with the Jews. The Almoravids from 1040 to 1147, they ruled parts of North Africa and Spain, but did not implement policies of forced conversion or mass expulsion. Jewish communities under their rule still lived under the dhimmi system, yes, which granted religious protections, as we talked about. Okay. There was no systematic expulsion. Some Jews even prospered and held official positions during this time. So the Almoravids allowed the Jews to prosper and even work within government. When the Almohads came, this even more extreme dynasty overthrew the Almoravids in 1147, initiated a period of intense persecution, rejecting the dhimmi status. The Almohads forced Jews and Christians to choose between converting to Islam or death. This forced conversion led to the destruction of synagogues and the confiscation of Jewish property. So you're always going to have people that's on your side and people that's not on your side. That's just human nature, period. So I would be remiss if I didn't include that and try to say, well, Islam protected the Jews. Not all the time. They did not. They didn't. This group did. This group didn't. Okay. But we got to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together and act like it ain't never happened on either side. All right. All right. Uh-oh. I think I went the other way. Let me go here. All right. So here's a picture where the Moors surrendered Spain. The big castle went back to Ferdinand and Isabella in 1492. Now, the Alhambra decree, because we know about the Moors losing Spain, but did you know in 1492 the Alhambra decree was an edict by the Catholic monarchs of Spain, Isabella and Ferdinand, ordering the expulsion of all practicing Jews from their territories by July 31st, 1492. We lost Spain in January of 1492. 6 months later, the Jews get out. The Christians came and kicked the Jews out. The Muslims had to go and the Jews had to go. right? So this is a very interesting dichotomy, because on one hand, you can see where the Muslim, Islam, and Christianity in a viewpoint of Jesus is more similar than Judaism, because Judaism don't fuck with Jesus. But then the culture of Judaism and Islam, they both don't eat pork. Both their women cover their hair. They pray multiple times a day. Just those alone. Yes, just those alone. Both claim descendants from Abraham. So does Jesus as well. But again, right? Again, I don't know how Jesus can be a descendant from Abraham when your daddy is God. But anyway, so you have this similarity, and then we protect the Jews. You see what I'm saying? So the Christians at that time come in and they say, fuck out of here. Both of y'all, Muslims and Jews, out. Okay. So now let's look at France, 12th to 14th century. Jews were repeatedly expelled from various territories. Get out. 1182, Philip II expelled the Jews. Yes. 1306, Philip IV ordered the expulsion of Jews from France. 1394, Charles VI issued the final general expulsion order ending Jewish residency in France. England, 1290, King Edward I issued the edict of expulsion, banishing Jews from England. Out with the Jews. Get out. These are the Christians doing this. Get out. Yes. Now let's look at Islam. 1502, edict banned Islam in the Crown of Castile, forcing remaining Muslims to convert or become Moriscos. 1526, similar edict was passed in the Crown of Aragon, expanding the forced conversions. 1609 to 1614, final decree ordered the expulsion of all Moriscos, forced, which means Muslims from Spain, an estimated 300,000 people forced out. Get out. Southern Italy and Malta, same concept, man. Get out. So Muslim and Jews, you're getting kicked out by the Christians together. Interesting. Because I don't know where we get this Judeo-Christian concept from, but we're going to get into that too. Okay? So dig it. Ask the question, did Pope Nicholas V sanction slavery? I know this. Yes, Pope Nicholas V sanctioned slavery through the papal bulls, Dum Diversis, 1452, in the Romanist Pontifex of 1455, which granted Portugal the right to conquer, and the slave Saracens, which is Muslims and pagans, in West Africa and beyond, thereby legitimizing and facilitating the nascent transatlantic slave trade. So the origin of the transatlantic slave trade, oh, this is going to get black people emotional. This actually comes from a pope who initiated the Portuguese going to West Africa and enslave them. So now you got beef with the church. And I'm going to tell you why. Pump your brakes. Do not. What you mean? We were slaves. We found the origin point. The church owe us. Pump your brakes, because we're going to have to be fair across the board. Okay? Here's a book called White Slaves, African Masters. Yes. And there's another one that's called They Were White and They Were Slaves, The Untold History of Enslaved of Whites in Early America. Now, I must say this. The Barbary Wars, the book on the left, and let me blow that up. All right, White Slaves and African Masters, that's scholarly work. The one on the right, history says, hey, this is actually pseudo-science, pseudo-history. It's not really true. This dude is over-exaggerating the status of indentured servitude, which whites were a part of, and he's comparing that and saying it was actual chattel slavery, and that's just not the case. I just got to tell you what's out there. Nevertheless, there's a reference. He's saying that they were actually slaves. But one thing is an actual fact. When it comes to going back into the Mediterranean and you in between Africa and Spain, the white Christians were absolutely made slaves. Let's read about it. Yes, the Moors did enslave the Christians. This enslavement occurred in two major periods during the Al-Andalus, Spain period, 8th to 15th century, through the trans-Saharan trade, that desert, and later during the Barbary slave trade to the 16th to the 18th century, through raids on ships and coastal towns in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. European Christians were imported as slaves, including white female concubines for harems and white male slaves who served various roles in palaces and households. So if you want to claim a Moorish legacy, you cannot have a gripe about the transatlantic slave trade started by the Catholic Church, because the record actually says you were enslaving them first. And what the Pope did was in retaliation. Are y'all enslaving us? Y'all already run shit. Y'all fucking us up. Okay, Portuguese, go get them. Fuck it. That's what they want to do. I'm in too. So everybody got their goddamn hand in the cookie jar. Yeah, the Arabs slave blacks, the Arabs enslaved whites, whites enslaved blacks. They saying blacks enslaved whites. Oh, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into it because we're gonna come to North America and we're gonna see the goddamn Indians, Native Americans, enslaved blacks too. So everybody got their hand in the cookie jar, and it's just some messy shit. So it's going to take who I call Jesus and the Mahdi, if you really knew what that represent and who personified those principles, but you're gonna see, to straighten this shit out and put everybody on notice on what's what. See, when you come back to the African roots of this shit, you'll be able to clean all this out and clean it up. It's real easy to do, right? So anyway, let's keep on going. The term Judeo-Christian, as we hear today, has early 19th century roots in England, used by missionaries to refer to Jewish converts to Christianity. But it was popularized in the United States in the early 1930s by liberal organizations like the National Conference of Christians and Jews to foster religious unity against anti-Semitism. So we just saw in history, the Christians is kicking the Muslims out and kicking the Jews out. Now, all of a sudden, hundreds of years later, you want to foster this relationship because you're converting Jews into Christianity, and you're going to come up with this concept called Judeo-Christian values, as if it's really a strategy to ostracize and separate you from embracing the aspect of Islam. That's what it is. Well, we saw that Islam in of itself had a golden age that allowed Christians to prosper. We just didn't allow you to be in political power. Because see, when you get in political power, if we want to be all the way honest about it, and I was texting this to my friend that's a Catholic, I said, that's like me saying the Catholic Church is bad because the Catholic Church from the previous Pope Francis went ahead and allowed his bishops to go ahead and sanction certain blessings upon same-sex marriage, which is 100% against the Bible. I'm not talking about the people. What you do is what you do. I'm just talking about biblically speaking, right? So he was a little liberal in his approach, and within the church, they didn't like that stance because the Catholic Church they play by the Bible like the Hebrew Israelites play by the Bible. It's supposed to be literal this way. Adam and Eve. That's what it's supposed to be, right? All right. Okay. So here comes the mind trick right here. Because see, as time progresses, it's 1930. You know what's about to happen in 1930? You know what's happening? More science is taking root in America. Islam is taking root now. 1930, the same year Master Fard Muhammad comes and the Nation of Islam is taking root. You got two different black versions of Islam that is now taking root. You think this is a damn coincidence? That's what's happening. But I'm going to show you God's hand. I'm going to show you God's hand. Here is a Catholic order with President Truman at the top. This Catholic order is called the Order of Alhambra. Do they not wear a fez? Did Noble Drew Ali not have affairs? And their symbol is the red castle, because the Alhambra means red castle, the red castle with a cross on it on top of the moon. Meaning, we defeated y'all, and this is our shit. It's like chess. They move that castle, right? Okay, so the Catholic Church then creates a fraternal order much later, much later in our times, early 1900s, so I'm not mistaken, called the Order of the Alhambra. And they know the history clearly. It is to subdue the Moorish. It's not to subdue. They're just saying, hey, we beat y'all. We beat y'all. I don't know what their works is inside of there, but we beat y'all. I find it ironic that, hey, Noble Drew Ali came with affairs. You know what? Here. And what I also find too, this picture here, they take an obelisk out of Egypt, a Tekken, this is his real name, but an obelisk out of Egypt, and they put it in front of St. Peter, put it in St. Peter's Square, home of the Pope, and they put a cross on top of it. Yep. Your Islam we just saw, this is what we think about your Islam. Yo, Egypt, this is what we think about it. Boom. We conquered you. But in truth, Egypt wasn't about conquering nothing. It was all peace, love, and light. It was all about what? These are universal principles. We understand that. We accept that. It's all good. We ain't fighting you. Yes, Islam fought you for political control, but allowed you to have your practice. All right, let's back up one. So dig this. When did the Vatican become a nation state of its own? February 11, 1929. When did Noble Drew Ali die? 1929. To go the hand of God I was talking about. Wait a minute. Back up to. The Catholic Church has an order called the Order of Alhambra. They wear a fez. Noble Drew Ali comes, the first black man to come on America and say, hey, here go Islam, and you are Moors. You're not black, you're Moors. Here you go. Right? They got this connection right here. And you mean to tell me when the Vatican officially became its own nation state, what's that, 5 months later, Noble Drew Ali breaks up out of here? What are you to do, Moorish man? And see, let's understand something. The way I understand Moorish history is it is a conglomerate, or what we would call a confederacy. There's Berber, they're made up of different tribes. You from this tribe, this African tribe, you accept Islam, you're rolling with some of the Arabs who got Islam. We all forming a pack and we rolling together. So it just wasn't all black from my understanding, but I'm no historian. I'm just an enthusiast. Okay. But I find the hand of God very interesting that at the same time, Noble Drew Ali was coming and saying, hey, you Moorish American, and let's get on our government game. Let's get on our status at law game. He breaks up out of here, and the Vatican says, you know what? We're going to separate from Italy, and we're going to become our own thing. They got their own police. They got everything. They're their own state. You see? So it tells you what you should be doing. Okay? So now let's talk about the Jews in the Civil War. Let's bring it on to the American soil. Let's talk about this for a quick second. JNW, what is that? Seligman. What is that? Seligman and Company Incorporated. Who are they? This firm is founded by brothers Joseph and James Seligman, was instrumental in helping the Union sell war bonds. They had international connections, and their firm helped secure funds from Europe to support the Union. By the way, Harriet Tubman was a Union soldier. They also received large government contracts to supply uniforms for the Union Army. They helped the government sell bonds that were used to pay for these supplies. Let's go to August Belmont, a Jewish immigrant from Germany who was an agent of the Rothschild banking family, the Illuminati. Although Belmont had his own firm and had converted to Christianity, he was a key political figure and strong supporter of the Union. As chairman of the Democratic National Committee, he used his influence to support the war effort. While his role as a Rothschild agent is debated, his firm, August Belmont Company, was a significant player in financial markets during the Civil War. If that's true with Rothschild, I thought they was the Illuminati and trying to get you. Why are you financing to get black people free? See, I told y'all I don't buy the Illuminati in totality. Rockefeller. Teddy Roosevelt had a warrant for Rockefeller. Rockefeller was on the run dipping subpoenas. If you the Illuminati and you big badass Rockefeller, why is the government fucking with you? You the boss of bosses. You control the government. The government don't fuck with you. Niggas be lying and they be in their emotions. Okay. All right. So now you got just these two groups just to show you there's Jewish people who are actually financing the war because you need clothes, you need boots, you need socks, you need soup, you need pots, you need cans, you need horse feed, you need hay, you need damn buggies, you need wheels, you need tools, you need a lot of shit to go to war. That costs money. So here goes some Jewish bankers that was getting some money on our behalf, but we don't talk about that in Black history. We don't want to admit that the Jews helped us out. But what did I tell you? What I tell you, it's two sides to every coin. Did the Lehman Brothers get bailed out of the 07-08 crisis? Fuck no. Lehman Brothers was not bailed out in 2008 financial crisis. And yes, the founding brothers did what? They supported the Confederacy during the Civil War. I knew that. That's why I asked the question, just to show y'all. The Lehman Brothers, who was headquartered down in Alabama, was rolling with the Confederacy. They had slaves and cotton trade. So when the Civil War broke out, they're like, yo, fuck them niggas and fuck the North. I'm in Alabama, the fourth state to join the Confederacy. I'm going Confederate. And one of the brothers out of the three actually joined the Confederacy, from my memory. All right. So they supported the Confederacy. So I find it very karmic, very revealing that in 07-08, you in the financial crisis, as with a lot of the banks that created mergers, yes, like Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, right? They said, fuck Lehman Brothers. Let Lehman Brothers go. Everybody else was getting saved and bailed out, as it's called. But Lehman Brothers, no. But look at the history of Lehman Brothers. Y'all niggas was into that fuck shit back then? Okay, here it come later. Bam. Pay up. See how this works? So you're going to have Jews who were against you and pro-slavery and Jews who are anti-slavery. You're going to have a split of ideologies in every sector. Period. It's the human nature. It's how it is. Okay? But we cannot tell a one-sided story. The Jews were good, all of them, and all were bad. You can't do that. All niggas ain't good niggas. Y'all know that. All niggas ain't good niggas. All white folks ain't good white folks. No one group of people is all any goddamn thing. Shit. I know people who pray and go to Sufi fellowships and borrow money and tell you they're gonna pay it back, and they're a parent and won't pay it back and won't give you a courtesy call and say they ain't paying it. You know what I'm saying? So now let's get into some Indian shit. Ask the question, did the Choctaw, Cherokee, and Chickasaw have slaves? Read this shit. See, I know this. Let me come back out and blow this up for you real big. We're gonna have to get this. Yes, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, and Chickasaw nations had people of African descent enslaved, and they fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War. After the war, treaty signed in 1866 with the U.S. government abolished slavery in their nations. Hello, y'all see this shit? Y'all see this? Whoa. So see, that's why I don't like the narrative that we were Indians. When I go back and I read memoirs, which are personal stories of the person writing him himself, When I read the memoirs of William T. Sherman, my war general who wrote 40 Acres, Special Field Order number 15, I find it funny that he sees a clear distinction between Indians and Africans. He's not saying that these are all black people and you really can't tell them apart or they all rolling together. No, there's a clear distinction on who is who between Indians, Native Americans, and black folks, people of African descent. So I don't like the narrative that all the Indians were really black type of shit. That's not true. It's a clear distinction going on. But to the big point at hand, these tribes fought for the Confederacy and they had African slaves, but black people just want to blame white people for slavery. We just want to blame white people on slavery. Yes? All right. So let's get into that treaty. This is going to be good. Dig this. Until the legislatures of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations respectively shall have made such laws, rules, and regulations that may be necessary to give all persons of African descent resident in the said nation in date of the Treaty of Fort Smith and their descendants heretofore held in slavery among said nations all rights, privileges, and immunities, including the rights of suffrage, means vote, citizens in said nations, except in the annuities, money, and public domain claimed by or belonging to said nations respectively, and also give to such person who were residents as aforesaid and their descendants. What's the last word? 40 acres. What? You mean to tell me the United States government had a treaty with these nations who had African slaves, and they told those people, since y'all got those African slaves in your territory, you are required to give them 40 acres, but niggas sitting up here talking about the government got their 40 acres when it's the Native Americans who got 40 acres. Whoa, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Who do we need to go see if you want some 40 acres? You want some of that reservation land? What's happening? All right, let's see some more. Let's just read the highlight. The said sum of $300 shall be paid to the said Choctaw and Chickasaw nations in proportion of 3/4 to the former and 1/4 to the latter. Let such sum at the rate of $100 per capita as shall be sufficient to pay such persons of African descent. Wait a minute. Are you now telling me that the Choctaw, Chickasaw, they have to pay people of African descent? This gets interesting. So now this is why I challenge the Moorish brothers, or the brothers who love law and jurisprudence, need to go through this treaty. And if you want to see, is there something there? Is there something there? Because it appears to be something there. I'm just showing you something. So the prophet, peace be upon him, had two wives who were originally Jewish, y'all. Sophia and excuse me, Lord, but I call her Riri, Rihanna. The prophet had a boo named Riri. He had Rihanna. My point of showing you this, digress. Islam, in its inception, was never against Judaism. So even if you have Islamic extremism against Jews, how could you when your prophet had two Jewish wives? But when you know the history of Islam, you know that you ain't rolling that way. You can't even do it. The Quran won't even let you do it. Yeah, here it is. And we have revealed to you, O prophet, this book with the truth as a confirmation of previous scriptures and supreme authority on them. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed, and do not follow their desires over the truth that has come to you. To each of you, here's the key, to each of you we have ordained a code of law and a way of life. If Allah willed, he would have made you one community, one nation. But his will is to test you with what he has given each of you. Different laws, different customs, different names of how we say God, Same thing, same function, but different name. So compete with one another in doing good. To Allah you will return, then he will inform you of the truth regarding your difference. You can't be a Muslim and say the Jews is out of pocket. You can't be a Muslim and say the Christians is out of pocket in a belief to the extreme that you think you want to kill somebody. Out your motherfucking mind. That don't exist. That's not revelation of the Quran. What you talking about? This is why I mess with the Quran, because this makes sense. We act like, see, this is my thing, man. We act like God don't exist, as if this Catholic church that's right here, this masjid that's down the street, and the synagogue around the damn corner, as if God don't know all of these things exist. And then we sit up here, we want to say some dumbass shit like, oh, all y'all Christians from the Catholic Church, all y'all pedophiles, and all that shit is fucked up. Jesus ain't even exist. It's really Horus and whoop-de-whoop, and y'all niggas is believing in dumbass shit, and I want to kill you. What? Then why God let it exist then? Better yet, fuck all that. I go get this book right here called the Compendium of the Miraculous that's full of Catholic miracles. You got apparitions of Mother Mary appearing in water coming out the ground. What are you talking about? Leave them alone. Yes? We can go to each of the cultures and see something that is absolutely miraculous and great. You done seen people who done flatline. I watched a quick video this morning of a doctor who was an atheist became a Muslim because when the patient had flatline, somehow, some way he was moving, and then he see dude's lips moving, is dead. And then when dude came back to life, he was already uttering prayers from the Quran, but technically he was dead. And that made the doctor become a Muslim. Fuck is y'all talking about? That's the trick of Satan, to get you to say, oh, that, and man, that's some bullshit, man. Especially when you come from an African standpoint. You are the father and mother and understand all these schools of thought. The Quran don't sanction no goddamn extremism when it comes to your religious belief. It's the only one, in my opinion, that makes sense, that says, nah, I'm gonna further elaborate on this. I gave all y'all different rights and customs to compete in doing righteousness. That's some OG shit. That makes sense in this reality. Let's read this one right here from the Quran. Those who believe in the Quran and those who follow the Jewish scriptures and the Christians and the Sabians, any who believe in Allah in the last day and work righteousness shall have their reward with their Lord. On them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. So as a Muslim, you cannot. You know who the Sabians were? I made a video on this before. The Sabian people absolutely used astrology. They were the stargazers. They didn't worship the stars. They understood the function of it as God commands flows through within the planets. That's in the Quran as well. Chapter 65, verse 12. Allah created the heavens and earth, 7 heavens, and a similar number of earths is what it says, and his command flows through them. Command means matters to be determined. The matters to be determined from Allah, from the Islamic standpoint, we should understand that they come from the planetary bodies. But yet the Muslim won't tell you that it does. That's shirk. Gross misunderstanding of what's right there in the Quran itself. The Quran ain't no hater of no Jews. So if you tell me some, this extreme Islamic version, and you put in the whole rap of Islam on that, that's an error. That's not in the Quran. All right. All right. So all this little trick, all this little divide and conquer shit, and using the slick ass newly innovated term called Judeo-Christian values to try to ostracize and set some things out, which is said to be, because now you got to ask the question, Christian and Jew, and the Jews don't I never really hear the Jews go at Islam like that. For real, for real. not in theology. You know what I'm saying? Now we're gonna have to okay, then why would God let it exist and become in the top 3 religions? Why would he do that? Make that make sense to me. Make it make sense. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You'll see. The signs will soon come. The signs will soon come. They say in Jamaica, soon come. It soon come. You'll see. You'll see. All right. So for those of you that got this message today, I'm sorry I couldn't get into my mystic bag. Inshallah, hopefully the spirit hit me next week and we get back into what we do. This just serves as a foundation for Black America, specifically Black America, to not fall for the trick of the divide, to not shun religion and not be divided in your religious beliefs. You're much older than these religions anyway. Your DNA way surpasses that. So why am I going to do that? You understand? That don't even make sense with me, right? It don't. Now, I understand the Catholic mysticism and love the Catholic mystics. Now, personally, I'm not going to pledge my allegiance to the body politic simply because, okay, the body politic, now I don't necessarily agree with the body politic. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that body politic doesn't have no, there's no room for you to explore and study mysticism or embrace Islam. Islam is the one that is the universal science out of the 3. It's the one. And then I would say the mystic aspect of Kabbalah. All right. But far as religions go, flat out religions go, the only one that embraced the other religions is the one that comes the last, which is the Islamic one. It says, nah, this is a continuation. This is what it is. This is the one God that has created these things to put y'all niggas to the test. Y'all saw it. The Quran said, I created this shit to put y'all to a test. And you can't, you fell in the test, man. You fell in the test. If I'm going to look at you because you Catholic, you Jew, woo, and man, please, man, alhamdulillah. You found what works for you. God speaks to you in that tongue. He speaks to you in that tongue. That's like saying the indigenous Aboriginal people that's in the bush that never seen a Bible, never seen the Quran, and they would never see one, right? They're in the jungle somewhere in the bush, right? They going to hell and they never even had a chance to get the book. That don't even make sense, man. That's just stupidity. At some point, we got to use our fucking common sense. I got to say it just like that. All right. All right. Now, the question is, what's the power inside of the one that's being ostracized? What's the one that looks like it's being set up? Because in my opinion, come on, man, it don't take rocket science, man. You know good and goddamn well, don't know airplane jet fuel burn down the fucking building. Not burn it down, collapse a building. Come on, man. What's going on? What's going on here? Why? What is it within this thing? Who's the puppet master here? Who is it? Who's the puppet master? Because it don't make sense. It don't make sense. And then when you start seeing, like I saw a video, was one dude like, listen, I never even heard of Charlie Kirk. I heard of him, but I never watched his videos. But now that this shit that happened, this shit made me go watch the video. So now y'all making me do a deep dive into the shit. Oh, when you come to find out, man, listen, man, the proof is in the pudding, especially in Black America. Islam is a redeemer. That's the one that clean your ass up. Not that there ain't no bullshit. I know it's gangster niggas in Islam. Like Beanie Siegel said, a Muslim in South Philadelphia will motherfucking kill you and then come wash your body and attend your funeral. You're going to have niggerism and bullshit in every sector. Should we go to the Catholic Church and they playing with kids? In every sector, you're going to have bullshit. Should we go to the Jews and let me clear this up too. From what I see, you would hear this statement about the Talmud and the Jews got a law that allows them to fuck with little kids. That's not what that says. From my research and what I saw, it reads, in the advent of that happening, then that person, that aggressor, must understand that he is now married to the soul of that individual who he penetrated. It's not telling you to go and sleep with little fucking kids. But yet emotionalism will have you saying that that's what it is. You understand what I'm saying? But you can have people that's in that school, because I watched the video of some black dudes running up on an Orthodox Jewish boy, and he had little girl pictures on his phone and taking pictures of little kids secretly and shit, right? You're going to have perverts, and just whether it's a sexual perversion or an extremist perversion, a perversion of mind is what I'm talking about. You're going to have a perversion of mind in every fucking school you go to. Period. 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 All right. All right. Any questions? Put it in the chat and then we can get up out of here. All right. So sorry I had to go this way today. Sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? But it's just what it is, man. I just don't want people and new people who may be listening. That's the most important part for me, is new people who may be listening that says, you know what, this shit makes sense. That's a chronology of history. That's right there. I didn't know that. That's a piece to the puzzle, because I was taught and I perceive that we shouldn't do XYZ. I heard Minister Jew told me one of the people got with him. She's like, man, Noble be over my head, man. I was taught, don't mess with none of that stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he was taught that. He was like, okay, don't mess with that. Right? But then you have some people got it, get it, and things is happening, and like, oh shit, right on time. Boom. Boom. Right? So, you know, the most important thing is, I hope that for the newbies, that just gives you some clarity to allow you not to have don't be a spiritual player hater. Okay? There's no room for that. All right. Don't be a spiritual player hater. All right. Appreciate you, Nikki. Appreciate you, Sharita. Everything on time so much is tied into this time. All areas of power have been totally corrupted and must now be cleansed. That was prophesied. Yeah, I'm about to spank their ass. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got a few more months. But in the meantime, between time, it's about to get really interesting and whatnot. So if I miss something, then I missed something. I missed it. Riddle what, sir? What you talking about? What you talking about? The Most High raised up Pharaoh for the Most High purposes. Where you at? Are you asking a question? The Most High raises up Pharaoh for the Most High purposes. Riddle me that, sir. I answered your question. Respond, please. Your word, pimp. Where's the question? I'll gladly wait for it. So I'm not seeing the question. What's the question? Am I missing it? What's that? The water? I'm looking for. Was the question to me? So I'll wait. I'll wait for it. He said answer quite okay. And man, a word, man. I wish if that's talking to me. I can't assume. Maybe he was talking to somebody in the chat. I wish I was eloquent in words enough to have some fancy words, because then I'd be a rapper and attempting to get money if I was a rapper. You know what I'm saying? But I'm waiting for the question. And if you put Pharaoh in power, and I don't know if they still here. So Pharaoh. I'm going to assume this was the question, maybe. The Most High raised up Pharaoh for the Most High purposes. That don't sound like a question to me. But even and then you're gonna have infighting, right? The Amun priests and they wasn't rocking with the priests of Aten and Akhenaten when Akhenaten came to change the system. So you gonna have infighting. That's gonna take place too. You know what I'm saying? So what? What, you're gonna have empires gonna fall. Some people gonna be righteous all the way to the end. Some people gonna turn bad. Some people gonna be bad from the beginning. Some people gonna be bad and turn righteous. You're gonna get all that. You're gonna get all that. I seen it. Look, when I saw that in history, studying the Civil War, and when I saw that Grant, President Grant had put in a prosecutor by the name of Amos T. Ackerman, and they created the Ku Klux Klan Acts. These are known as the Klan Acts, also known as the Enforcement Acts. But Ackerman, as the prosecutor when it was the Civil War, before Grant was president, obvious, right? Ackerman was in the Confederacy fighting to have slaves. And then all of a sudden, you a prosecutor for the Union Army convicting former Confederates who are now known as the Ku Klux Klan, and you pick an all-black jury to sentence your former war partners. So you can be bad from the gate, then have a change of mind afterwards, and then start doing good. The same thing is with James Longstreet in the Civil War. Google what I'm telling y'all. James Longstreet is known as the traitor of the South. The South don't fuck with James Longstreet. They don't like him. Because after the Civil War, James Longstreet was on Canal Street. He had a military post. He was working for the government in New Orleans on Canal Street, and the mob broke out, white mob against some black citizens, and James Longstreet came and gave some guns to the black citizens to defend them. So the South considered James Longstreet a traitor. James Longstreet was like the third general in command. Robert E. Lee was first. Yes. And then Stonewall Jackson, before he ended up accidentally getting shot and killed by his own, a Confederate bullet ended up hitting him from his own side, and he later dies. And then it was James Longstreet was third. James Longstreet disagreed with Robert Lee. Robert Lee wanted to go to Gettysburg. James Longstreet said, no, we need to go defend Vicksburg, Mississippi. That's where we need to go. Lee is like, nope, if we beat them up north, this is going to change the war. So he had to follow the command of the superior officer. Nobody's more superior than General Lee on the Confederates. And so when they go up north into Gettysburg, it's something called Pickett's Charge. James Longstreet was late getting into position, and then the Union beat their ass on Pickett's Charge and made the South retreat and run back down south, all because James Longstreet was late. Then after they leave Gettysburg, Lee and James Longstreet get into it, and then Lee gets rid of James Longstreet and send him over to Tennessee, known as the Middle Tennessee Campaign. Now, James Longstreet is beefing with the head head general for the Tennessee Campaign named William Braxton Bragg. No, he may not be William Braxton Bragg. Braxton Bragg is the worst general and got more L's on his record than anybody, right? So now Longstreet and Bragg is beefing, and then Longstreet leaves Tennessee to go back towards the Virginia area to get back with Lee. And then Lee surrenders, and then years later, Grant become president, gave James Longstreet a job in the Union government, and then when the mob break out on Canal Street, like I stated earlier, James Longstreet pops up and gives black people guns. So now the question is, well, damn, James Longstreet, was it really in your heart all this time to be against niggas? Because it seems like maybe you wasn't. And maybe that also played a role in why you was late to Pickett's Charge in Gettysburg as well. Series of events are the hand of God is moving. My point is, you will have people who can start bad and have a change of heart. You have people who will start good and turn bad. Too much power get to them, they get corrupted and do dumb shit. So this matters for Pharaoh, any goddamn body. It don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter. So who is this? Ari Moth. This guy is an imposter, a fool talking ghetto language and talking about spirituality. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. So do God not visit the people? See, this is what I love about the Quran. Do God not visit people in the ghetto? because the message is for the ghetto, you stupid motherfucker. So now here's the question. See, the Quran, I'm going to use the Quran as a base, but if you don't agree with the Quran, you don't agree. The Quran says we send every nation a messenger speaking their own language. I'm from a hip hop culture, you stupid motherfucker. So let me say it like that. All right. So if you want to see results, go check my videos and go check the results that I proven. And if you can disprove one word that I say, disprove some shit that I've actually showed that actually works, I'll pay you $1,000 real quick. A quick thou wow for you to go at any work that I have shown and proved. And here's a receipt. Show that. All right. A Hebrew. You ain't no Hebrew. Nigga, do I want to be a Hebrew? But I know the Hebrew. But do I want to be a Hebrew? So what that mean? Let's say I ain't a Hebrew. Now what? In fact, I'll do you one even better. Because see, I'm gonna tell you what we missing. I'm gonna tell you what we missing in the art of dialogue. Hit that link, my nigga, so I can bring you on stage. And I'm gonna shut my mic. You gonna say what you want to say. And then when you done what you saying, I'm gonna mute your mic and we gonna have a conversation. Because this is the kind of conversations that need to be had. Like we need to have some Charleston White conversations, but Charleston White needs to be muted after he made a point so somebody else can make a point. Just because you talk the loudest and you talk the fastest don't mean that you're right. So I'm gonna do you that. Click that link and I'll bring you on up here and you can say what you want to say. And I'm gonna mute my mic respectfully and let you get it off. And then I'm gonna have the same term. So let's go for it. Since I'm from the ghetto, let's go for it. And I'll wait. And you ain't got to put your camera on, but you can mic up. But you can put your camera on. My camera's on. So I'll wait for it because I got time today. A little bit of time. I'll wait for it. And in peace to the algorithm for getting and being able to attract the types of you. Yeah, the types of you. Don't worry about how I said it. Worry about is what he said the truth. Cause see, that's a, excuse me, ladies, but that's a woman's that's what women say. It's how you said it. Man, fuck all that. You a grown ass man. The fuck my vulgar language got to do with how you feel and take away from what I'm saying. Stop being a little bitch ass nigga. So fucking what I'm cussing. So what? What that got to do with what I laid out, nigga? Did anything I said, was it false? Name one thing that I showed was false. Stick on that, nigga. Talk about how I'm saying it. What you worry about how I talk for? Now you starting to feel like you kind of infatuated with a nigga low key. You infatuated with me, nigga? You ain't no Hebrew at a 6-point star. Why you looking at me so close, nigga? You like me? Make it make sense to me. I showed 60 plus slides. Show me one slide that was false. Nah, I ain't gonna ignore him. Fuck that. I want to smoke, as we call it. Hit that link, mic on up. Man up. And if you're a woman, I don't argue with women. Here go the link one more time. See, you the type of motherfucker that'll report a video. Anybody else? What up, Smitty? What's good? I'm trying to get some detractors on, man. Hey, man, the algorithm gonna reach an audience that has a different ideology a little bit more. Well, come on, man, let's go. Let's rock with it. We can have a dialogue. This is practice, you know, because because where I'm headed, I'm headed to the masjid to talk with the leaders, to have a conversation about some things that's being misinterpreted or not being expounded upon. So I welcome that. So we ain't hitting the link. We ain't gonna hit the link. We ain't gonna hit the link. Oh, I know what this is. I just saw this morning too. Mike Epps was talking to what's the young kid that be streaming? Kai. And he was like, listen, man, when I first got on Instagram, that's Mike Epps. He was like, when I first got on Instagram, somebody was talking some shit. And Mike Epps said he had inboxed them. And he was like, nigga, where you at? And the dude said where he was at. And so Mike Epps paid a private investigator to go find this person. And to come to find out, it was a 12-year-old little white boy just behind the computer talking shit. And Mike Epps was like, man, I got all out my motherfucking body, spent some money for that shit. And it was just a little kid. So I'm starting to think you just a bot. You won't even hit the link to have a conversation with a nigga. All right. Moving on. While we're waiting, Anpu, where can I find a copy of Mother Tynetta's books that you referenced? She don't have a physical book. Her articles is still on the Final Call website, finalcall.com. If you just type in Mother Tynetta unveiling the number 19, she just had one book she has is The Comer by Night, which I need to get that again for sure, because I don't know where it's at in my library. But The Comer by Night is the book that she has. But all of her articles are on the Final Call website under the title Unveiling the Number 19. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Man, please, man. I'd be like Suleiman. I'm like Suleiman. Me and the jinn is good. Suleiman controlled the jinn. He's the master of the jinn. You know. We good? We good? Yeah. You welcome. We straight, y'all? We good? No? The troll left? Oh man, I invited you up. I wanted to have a first troll conversation. All right. Sheree said we good. All right, well, cool, man. We're in with this prayer, man. Let us see you in the Patreon. Hey, man, y'all in the Patreon check. I posted a video earlier today, the last day of this special alignment. So really make it count. And it happens to be Friday too. So really make it count. But yeah, man, I'm gonna leave out in the what we gonna do, the idle cursey, man. Appreciate y'all, love y'all, man. Make sure y'all click that like button. If you didn't, please click the like button and double down on the like button, since we had a hater finally try to come up. But double down on the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new and whatnot. And I humbly invite you to just watch all the videos, especially when I get in my other bag. Just watch the videos and I'm gonna show you what everything means. All right, man, I'm out of here. Peace.
الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم